Hello, you're on Pablo Spot, and this is DEVscoOPS, a rapid show and tell on tools and practices in cloud technology in general. And so if this tickles your fancy, hit the subscribe button. So let's get into it. On today's episode, I will be doing a show and tell on how to implement and use templating in Terraform using the function called template file. When we write Terraform code, we sometimes have requirements to set up customized set of string that we want to assign to some properties of our infrastructure resources. These can vary from a simple string assignments to configuration type properties that involve several lines of code. So let's have a look at this sample project. In here, I have a public EC2 instance that is intended to have Docker installed in it and runs a simple Nginx container. If I head to my VS Code terminal and prepare for running TerraGrant plan for this module, and now I'm gonna run TerraGrant plan. The TerraGrant plan was successful. Now I want to go back to my code. The user data property on the instance resource on the code contains string assignment, and it is using here.doc. I personally find it difficult to read lines inside my Terraform code that goes outside the usual formatting and setup that I usually see. Also, as I start to add more commands that I want to run as part of my instance initialization, the here.doc becomes longer and longer. And so as much as I can, I try to minimize the use of here.doc on my code. Terraform's template file function will help me make the code cleaner. So what I will do is head to my VS Code Explorer and then create a new directory called templates inside the templating EC2 directory. And inside this directory, I'm going to create a new file called instance-init-config.tpl. If I head back to my main.tf, what I will do is copy this entire contents of my user data and then head to my new template file and paste that in. What this essentially means is that the entire content of this file will be injected into the resource property that I want it assigned to. So let me head back to my main.tf and consume this. On the user data property, I will remove the components of my here.doc, and I will replace it with a Terraform function called template file. This function accepts two parameters. The first parameter is the path to the template file that I created previously. And the second parameter are some variables injected into the template file. Let's leave this one out for now and leave this parameter empty. So I will set this with opening and closing braces. What the template file function will do is extract the contents of the template file that I've provided and sets it to a string and assigns it to the resource property. And now I have a cleaner code. And I can also isolate any changes to the user data script into a file outside of my Terraform code, which means if I want to add a few more lines when I initialize my EC2 instance, I can just go to my template file and add the lines accordingly. Now, let me head back to my VS Code terminal and rerun TerraGrant plan. The TerraGrant plan went through fine, which means I still have achieved the same result as the previous setup, but this time I have a cleaner and more structured set of code. Suppose I want to inject dynamic values into this template. So let me head back to my code. Let's say I want the host port, container port, the container name, and even the Docker image dynamic. So what I will do is replace some parts of my template file and introduce some variables. In Terraform templates, variables are set using the $sign and the curly braces. If I head back to my VS Code terminal without doing anything else and rerun TerraGrant plan, I get an error on the call to the template file function, and this is because my variable values are not assigned. So to resolve this, I will head back to my code, and on my main.tf, inside these curly braces, I will set the variable values and separate each assignment with a comma like this. What I have added here for the call to the template file function is the actual assignment of variables to allow Terraform to interpolate these variable assignments against what has been defined inside the template file. So now if I go back to my VS Code terminal and then rerun TerraGrant plan, the error is gone. Now that I have a cleaner Terraform code and a dynamic template file assignment allowing me to have dynamic user data, let me go ahead and run TerraGrant apply. Now let me copy the endpoint string on my output and then switch to my browser and plug that endpoint, and the page is loading fine. And that's it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Until next time, see ya.